YouTube, this is Genius in Exile. I actually just got back from the farmer's market, and what I'm going to do with these tomatoes I got here, aren't they beautiful? Gorgeous Roma sauce tomatoes, is I'm going to make tomato sauce. So I got some beautiful mushrooms that I'm starting to chop up, got some fresh basil from the garden, and my garlic from the garden. I didn't quite have the harvest I wanted, but I'm trying again. I'm going to be adding a little bit of zucchini. My daughter isn't really a fan of zucchini, but I figured if I stick a little bit in the sauce, she won't even notice. And some onions. So what I'm going to do is finish chopping up these mushrooms, which I have in here, and then I'll start blanching the tomatoes and putting the sauce together. Okay, so far I have about a couple of pounds of mushrooms, and these were really huge. They're probably about that big. And I got 2 large onions chopped up. I actually just used the container that the mushrooms came in. You know, no waste, recycling. I'll probably use this for compost, which I have here. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stems of beautiful sweet basil. Just picked it outside and washed it. This is going to be beautiful. I'm going to strip this off the stem, and then I'm going to line up the leaves, roll them up, and just cut them into little ribbons, and that'll go into the sauce toward the end. And then I've got to peel my garlic and shred the zucchini so my daughter doesn't know it's in there. Get back to you in a sec. Okay, so to chop basil, what I've done is I've actually stripped them off the stem, lined them up. I'm just kind of rolling them up. It doesn't have to be pretty. Watch your fingers. I'm just going to slice them into ribbons. There we go. Very nice. On to the next ingredient. Okay, I also shredded up 1 medium-sized gray squash. They're a lot like zucchini, and this is about, I'd say maybe 1 1/3 cups. So we'll add that and see if she notices. Okay, and now to peeling the tomatoes. I have a chef basket here. I love this thing. Picked it up for $10, and this is wonderful. So I have this huge box of tomatoes right here. So what I'm going to do, you don't want to do too much at once. You actually don't want to bring down the temperature of the water too far. So I've got them in here. And plunge them into the hot water and let them sit in there for about maybe a minute. And sometimes they'll float up. So you just hold them down. See how it brought down the temperature of the water? It was actually starting to boil. I use the handles sometimes to hold it down, but I really don't want to put it in the hot water. Just leave them there for just a minute. Take them out. And then put them into the ice water, which this doesn't fit in, so I'll probably end up just dumping them over into it. So I'm going to do the rest of this box, and then I'll show you how to peel a tomato. Okay, so I have my tomatoes in the ice water. I'm going to push them down. So what that's going to do is the tomatoes will heat up when they're in the hot water. Then when you plunge them into the cold water, they'll shrink up, and the skins will peel off. And then once I get it done, I'll put it in my gigantic pot and start letting it cook down. Okay, so I got my tomatoes out of the ice water, and as you can see, they're peeling really easily. Look at that. Easy. It's a nice, easy way to peel your tomatoes. There's not a lot of waste, because you're not really going to use the skins, but you don't want to peel it off with a knife. Sorry, I'm trying to do this one-handed. Look how easy that was. Naked tomato. So now I'll cut these in half. I'll squeeze out the seeds. And you can actually save the seeds from doing this because you won't heat up the tomato enough to kill the seeds. And then I'll get them ground up and into my pot with the onions and the garlic and the spinach and the zucchini. So I'll be doing more for a long time. Alrighty, so I got my huge pot preheated. I got some olive oil in there. I'm dropping my onions, my garlic. There we go. will get a little bitter. Oh, this is smelling so good. What I'm going to do is add a little bit of spinach. We'll bring it to get nice and brown. And now I think. I figure if I'm going to add vegetables, I need to add a lot. There we go. Get that nice and roasted in there. This smells so good. And got my zucchini shredded. I'm going to add that. Sorry, I'm doing all my own filming, so I'm walking back and forth. Now this will actually break down very nicely, and will thicken up the sauce a little bit, and it's extra nutrition, whether they like it or not. Still doing my tomatoes. I'm going to be going at it for a little bit, so I figured I'd at least get this going, get it wilting into the pan. I've got my first batch of peeled tomatoes, so those are going to be beautiful. Making you dizzy? Yeah, me too. So, we'll get this to where they're nice and sweated, a little bit of translucence, and then by then I'll start adding in my tomatoes. So I almost forgot. I'm going to add my mushrooms in too. Oh, those are beautiful. Those are big button mushrooms, and they're going to make this so nice. A lot of vegetarians use mushrooms in their cooking because they're just so meaty and substantial, and they're just wonderful. I like a big portobello that's been marinated and grilled, and I'll eat that like a burger. And this is actually going to be a vegetarian sauce. I do add sausage and other things to my sauce, but this one I've actually elected to make vegetarian. So, I'll let this cook down. Back to the tomatoes. Okay, they're sweated down pretty nicely. And let them go, oops, sorry about the steam, for a little bit longer, of course, as I'm still doing my tomatoes. Doesn't seem like I've even made a dent in them yet. And I'm going to add some Italian seasoning, because this is a huge pot. I'm probably going to add about 5 or 6 tablespoons of Italian seasoning, and about 3 tablespoons of oregano, and some nature seasoning. It's kind of an all-purpose seasoning. I think it adds a little something. It's got salt, black pepper, garlic, parsley, celery seeds. I think it's pretty good. Another thing I like to add is just a little bit of chicken bouillon to my marinara. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it adds this wonderful kind of savory hint to it. It kind of breaks up the tartness of the tomatoes. You want this to be really good and savory, and this is really steaming. Try not to let it steam up the camera. But there we go. Back to the tomatoes. Oh, one more thing I wanted to show you. They are practically peeling themselves. I just got these out, got them into some water. Look at that. One-handed. Definitely the easiest way to peel a tomato. There's no waste, because you're not going to use these peels. Look at that. And you have a beautiful peeled tomato with really no effort at all. Back to them. Okay, so I'm actually pureeing my first batch of tomatoes. Just a little bit more to go. I'm almost done. Yeah, but that's what it's like. If you're going to make tomato sauce, you may as well go big or go home. So, got this all blended up. I'm going to add it to my veggies, which are looking beautiful. Sorry about the background noise. Kids are watching a movie. And this is going to be wonderful. Probably going to be a pretty interesting color, but it's definitely going to be nice. I'll keep on it. Okay, finally finished all the tomatoes. I got them peeled, or blanched, peeled, seeded, and got the cores out of them and blended them up. And I've got them added to the sauce. I just put on some basil And it's not going to be the reddest sauce because of all the vegetables I put in there, the spinach and the zucchini and all the basil. But it will be really delicious. And right now it's rather thin. This is going to need to cook down quite a bit. This is a very big pot, so I'm thinking this is probably going to cook for about the next 6 hours or so. But I'll be checking it and stirring it here and there, and I'll show you the progress. Okay, so it's actually looking pretty good, nice and thick. Yes, you've noticed I put on some gloves. I'm actually chopping up about 50 pounds of carrots and didn't want to be bright orange, so I just came over here to give this a stir, and this is looking really thick. And you know, it's almost kind of looking like hot sauce. But I wasn't going to add any tomato paste to this. I just wanted it to be out of fresh veggies and herbs and spices. And this is looking good. And it is a very awkward color, I'll tell you that. It's almost kind of a brownish color, but I added a lot of vegetables. There's a lot of spinach in here. As a matter of fact, everything that I couldn't get on the dehydrator from the farmer's market went in here. And I would say that was probably about 4 or 5 cups of spinach. But this is really, really good. And I wish you could smell it. It smells absolutely wonderful. Matter of fact, let's do a taste test. Honey, you want to do a taste test?
It'd be an honor.
All right, here. All right, sweetie. All right, hold the spoon over the pan and put some in here. Now, you need to be careful, honey. It's going to be hot. You have to blow on it for a sec, okay?
Okay.
Alrighty. How is it?
That's fantastic.
Okay, I know it's probably different from store-bought, right?
Very.
But what do you say? You think you could eat that over some pasta?
Easily.
Yeah?
I mean, it's fresh, it's good, perfect amount of flavor. Oh boy, I'd like to have a bowl of that right now.
Well, I'm going to put it away, but I'll save you some, okay?
Yeah.
All right, thank you, dear. And there you have it. Homemade tomato sauce from the farmer's market. That's that whole big box ended up being. But you know, this will probably end up being about 7 or 8 quarts of sauce. So I'm going to can this up, and you'll see it next. And oh, by the way, because this is, well, I would even say vegan, because I used only vegetable oils in it, that I'm just going to boiling water bath this. So there's no need to pressure can it. So I'll get it in the jars and show you next. Okay, so I got my sauce in the jars. I wiped the rims and put the lids that I kept in hot, not boiling water on them and put on the rings. And I've got the boiling water bath ready to go, and we're going to put them in there as soon as it gets up to boiling. And I'm going to boil these for 45 minutes. This is the Big Bertha water bath canner. This thing is huge. I'm not quite sure how many quarts it holds, but there's a lot. Just waiting for the water to boil. Got the flame on. Meanwhile, I got my carrots in the pressure canner, and I'll show you how they look when they're done. Alrighty, so I have removed my tomato sauce from the boiling water bath where they processed for 45 minutes, and they look really good. I actually don't put vinegar in my water. I don't really see a need for it because I wash my jars anyway. And besides, the minerals wash right off. I have hard water, but it's really not that big a deal, as I'm going to remove these rings and wash the jars. And if you're not sure how to do that, I actually have a video on how to properly wash your jars after processing. And then once I leave them alone for 24 hours, which I've just taken them out, they're actually still really hot, I'm going to wash them, label them, and put them away from light and heat. So there you go. Homemade tomato sauce. Take care and prep honestly.